The depth chart is out for the Music City Bowl. That's right, folks. They're actually going to play this thing. We'll break things down and what we see at the top spot at the quarterback position. Some news on the basketball front today. Movement for the game being played tomorrow against Eastern Illinois. We'll talk about that. And an update on the return possibility of Chris Murray coming back for the Hawkeyes. And it is winter weather palooza. All happening here today on Locked On Hawkeyes.
Are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. I'm Trent Condon, and thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen each and every day. Available wherever you get podcasts, and you can also find us on YouTube. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button. 5-star ratings on the podcast helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. Today, a big day if you're into depth charts, and I am. Now, I understand the caveat that we have to put in there, right? Every single time when we're talking about depth charts in Iowa football, it's a different conversation. This is not anything that you have to absolutely lock in. It is just a starting point, but at minimum, it's some kind of conversation piece leading into this bowl game. The Music City Bowl, look, it's a rematch. After playing Kentucky a year ago in the Citrus Bowl, you have that component of it. It's all the tried and true tropes that you go through. Hey, a rematch against Mark Stoops. You got, of course, the former Hawkeye now going up against his alma mater. You have that conversation piece. That was a fun storyline last year. It's not a fun storyline the second time. You have that component of it. It's a Kentucky team that is built very similarly to Iowa, not a whole lot offensively. Then on top of it, they have a bunch of opt-outs. Levis, their quarterback, he's not going to be playing in this game. Rodriguez, their fine running back, he's not going to be there either. As we see the opt-outs on the other side for Iowa are the guys that have also left. So you have that component. Now, Kentucky, they went out and actually made a change. That's the difference between the way that Mark Stoops operates and Kirk Ferentz operates, as he understands in today's day and age that if you're going to make a move in your coaching staff, you have to do it now. And the best coaches right now out there, they're being plucked, they're being groomed, they're being talked to and wined and dined and trying to get them on your campus to help turn around whatever woes that you had. In Kentucky, they had their own set of woes. They really did this year. This was not a very good offensive team. Statistically, they were down towards the bottom of college football this season. In fact, if you look at the numbers for the Wildcats this year, they finished the year in total offense 107th. What does that mean? Well, you fire your coordinator, unless you're in Iowa City. And by the way, we don't see little Billy Stoops out there running the offense. They actually had a guy that did the work, got there because of the acumen that he had built, and then became an offensive coordinator. And then when he wasn't good at it, he was fired. That's how it works everywhere except Iowa City, because you have Brian Ferentz running the offense. And Kirk doesn't make moves during the season, and we're waiting till December 31st for this godforsaken bowl game to be played, and then potentially moves will be made at that point in time. You're already behind the 8 ball for so many reasons, and you're making it that much more difficult. Conversation for another day. Let's talk about this depth chart. And really the most intriguing thing at the top was going to be who is going to be at least listed as the starter at the quarterback position. We know Spencer Petras, he is injured. He is not going to be available for this game, and more than likely, possibly, hopefully, his final game in a Hawkeye uniform. Remember, he does have another season of eligibility because of the COVID year of 2020, and he could return. If him and the coaching staff wanted that, another conversation for another day. And of course, Alex Padilla, his backup, the guy that we got to see against Nebraska a couple of times this year, put in some bad situations. He has departed and he has entered the transfer portal. So you have 2 players that have scholarships at the quarterback position that are available to play. Joey Labus and Carson May. So it is Labus that is listed as the starter. He's the guy at the top spot. So that's who you'll have at that component. He'll be the guy that more than likely will get the start. Now, they got plenty of practices in front of them. Could things change? We'll see. In fact, we're going to hear from Kirk tomorrow. His signing date is tomorrow, and we will hear a little bit more from him on that. So that will be coming your way tomorrow. We'll have more reaction. Hayden Proctor, that will be a big conversation piece, of course, and a lot more coming up on that front. So that's the top of the depth chart. Now, another thing that jumped off to me is Deontay Vines. He was another guy out of that wide receiver group that people thought was a potential, could enter the transfer portal. He stuck around, at least is sticking around through the bowl game. Now, will that change? It's still to be determined. Will that change after spring practice? Again, go back to Charlie Jones, what we saw. Timing was not good for Iowa football. After spring practice and a little bit later on, a couple weeks afterwards, before he finally entered the transfer portal, and I was very behind. They were not able to go out there and hit the transfer portal at the level that they should have at the wide receiver position. So Deontay Vines is there. Great to see him as a starter. So you got that a part of it. Couple other notes here. Sam Laporta is listed as a starter. Of course, had that injury late in the year, was not available in the game against Nebraska. How different that game could have been with him out there. What could have been? Well, there's been plenty of that this football season. But him and Lachey listed as the tandem at the tight end position. And then some moving parts at the offensive line position. It is Jennings Dunker, who battled injury himself this year. Really saw some good things, I thought, at times at Dunker. Really inconsistent this year. But you can see he's got a chance. He's a big guy, too. Certainly for an Iowa offensive lineman, already 6'5", 316 pounds is what he's listed at as a redshirt freshman. That's a guy you feel like maybe has the upside you're looking for at a guard spot that frankly has not been good in a long time for Iowa. They've had some tackles. Of course, they had Linderbaum for 4 years. That was all well and good. Those guards have really, really struggled over really the last 5 or 6 years. You go back to the offensive line in 2019. You had 2 NFL tackles, right? Tristan Wirfs on one side, Alaric Jackson on the other. In the middle, you had Linderbaum, but the guards were bad that season, and it showed up in a big-time way. Got to get that figured out. A couple other things in there. Of course, Caleb Johnson is now listed as your starter at the running back position. LaShawn Williams behind him with Gavin Williams now in the transfer portal. So that's what you have there. Over on the defensive side, a couple of news and notes from the depth chart released. Again, not reading too much into it, but hey, we're looking for content. Let's be honest, right? We're looking for something to talk about with Iowa football here, and we have it. Your starters defensive line, no real changes up front on the defensive front. Where the changes do come, though, is at the cash position. Now, Sebastian Castro, he is listed as a starter at cash, but he's also listed as a starter at strong safety. A lot of people believed what you were going to see here is that Quinn Schulte maybe would shift over, or you'd see Xavier Wampa. Not the case. Now, Xavier Wampa is on the depth chart, though he is listed as the backup at the free safety position behind Quinn Schulte. Is that concerning? I don't think so. Are we going to see Xavier Wampa out there playing defense? I would hope so. Again, this is an exhibition game. This is a game that in the grand scheme of things means absolutely nothing. You have to get him out there. You have to give him an opportunity. There is no doubt in my mind the right thing to do is sink or swim at this point in time. Go out there, figure it out, get him on the field. It is a necessity for this Iowa team to look to the future, look to your young guys, get him out there. Riley Moss, starter at one side, TJ Hull listed behind him, Cooper DeJean back on the depth chart after that injury with Jamison Hines behind him. So that's what we have at the depth chart. Hey, we're trying to create some buzz, right? Try to get for a bowl game that, yes, doesn't mean a whole lot. We got more football conversation, the latest on Caden Proctor. We will get into that a day before signing day. And also we'll talk some basketball. Chris Murray, when is he going to return? Fran talked about that a little bit here today. That's all coming up on Locked On Hawkeyes. Today's episode of the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Very simple. Just add your job and the purple hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile. It helps spread the word that you're hiring. They have simple tools like screening questions, make it easy to focus on candidates with just right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. 2023 right around the corner. Want to get that right person in an open position? Check out LinkedIn Jobs. Small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Again, linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.